Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. Do you guys remember that time that I melted down against General Skywalker in Season 3? Pepperidge Farm remembers. And I'm sure my patrons do too. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate it. It's the start of Group 4, our final group, and it's our first match, which one might expect after I had said that it's the start of Group 4. I'm facing off against a dude named John Nani. That's right, 3 N's in the name, and what's truly remarkable about this match is that, as I had mentioned before, I faced this guy in round 3, or rather Championship 3, Season 3, so months ago, and I could not beat his General Skywalker. For the life of me, I just totally melted down. I played very poorly. There were just a couple small things that were good about that fight, but you can see I didn't even clear his fleet. Just a really awful performance. And I actually didn't realize this until I was talking to my opponent, and he mentioned that we had faced each other, and then I was like, oh, your name sounded so familiar. I thought maybe, but I couldn't find him. This was actually the very last match that I had before they started doing Grand Arena history, and so I'd searched all through his history, and I'd found a bunch of interesting things, but nothing about our match, which makes sense. However, he did beat me, so...
What do you want to buy?
Revenge.
So, beyond my petty motivation of revenge, I also had other great motivation to win in the form of I'm already 9-0, I want to go 12-0, get top 10, or at least as high in the standings as possible, and... yeah, this guy's standing in my way, so hopefully I can win. Looking at our stats, our mods, or rather our relics, are very similar to each other. I have a slight advantage, I guess. I went more heavy on Relic 4, he went more heavy on Relic 3. Pretty slight difference. Looking at Zetas, I have a slight advantage. Gear 13, I have 8 more, not too much. Speed mods. My opponent has a slight advantage on some levels, and it's a very even match, actually. And our lifetime banners are actually very similar. We're within 10,000 of each other, which is pretty dang close. And this is going to be a really close match. My opponent is very skilled, had a lot of things going, so looking at the map, my opponent had placed pretty much everything that I had expected. They put a really weak Jedi or Darth Revan team on offense or on defense. They had General Grievous with Watt, and I needed to beat those before I could get to the back zone. And then some pretty beatable teams up top. Malak with Nute was kind of interesting. Nest with Old Republic is something I've seen quite a bit. And so let's just jump right in here. Okay, so we need to clear the bottom zone, of course, and the only 2 squads that are standing in our way are this really skeleton-weak Darth Revan team, and then there's a General Grievous squad, which I have always used this squad, or at least always this season, I've used this Emperor Palpatine squad, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I did not realize, but my Bastila is just not modded right now. She doesn't have mods, and so you can see she would normally have gone first. Instead, she is dead, and that's really unfortunate.
Why are you doing this? Oh, it's complicated.
This Emperor Palpatine squad really relies on Bastila being able to go pretty early on, and so you can see I'm putting it on airplane mode. I was not sure of the result at all at this point. Bastila usually is able to debuff people and kind of just stop the enemy team. Instead, I've barely even gotten a turn at this point. All these debuffs that Palpatine relies on are just not happening. He couldn't even stun Grievous, and Grievous killed Scion. It's really not looking great, so I was hoping maybe if I could survive long enough, maybe I can take out B1, and then it won't be a complete total failure. As it stands, I couldn't. I just got completely destroyed, so I decided to force quit with airplane mode and move along. This was actually a very similar start to my last fight with this guy. So the question is, was I going to just completely melt down, or was I actually going to pick myself up?
Life is a storm, my young friend. You will bask in the sunlight one moment, be shattered on the rocks the next. What makes you a man is what you do when that storm comes.
So, we found out the hard way that Bastila has no mods on her, which is great. Wonderful. So happy I got to learn that. So now we have no choice, basically. We have to beat this Grievous squad. You know that I've been going super heavy defense, and so I don't have much in terms of offense. I could use my General Skywalker. I do have him available for offense this time just to mix things up, but I don't have anything else. My meta teams included Traya, Commander Luke, and General Skywalker. Padme's on defense, Jedi Revan's on defense, all the teams that could beat this squad. So, jumped in here with Commander Luke, and we're just trying to do as much damage as possible. This is not a great matchup, but the fact is, I do have good relics on Han and on Chewie, and on Luke, for that matter, and on my other Han that's in there. So we're doing okay. Now, they put the taunting tech onto B2, which is great. That's fine. The real question here is, like, what can we do? Like, we need to take out Watt, we need to take out B2, but the second that I took the taunt off of B2, he went back into stealth, because that's part of what Magna Guard does for him. So you see I took protection off against him again, and he's in stealth again, so that's kind of an annoying mechanic. Did not realize that it worked that way. One thing I probably should have done with Luke previously, just a minute ago, was instead of hitting Magna Guard, I probably should have hit General Grievous with that turn meter reduction. Didn't really matter. Luke died soon thereafter, so he paid for his crimes. And now like I said, we're just trying to get to the point where we're doing as much damage as we can. We took out Watt early. He was tougher to kill than I thought, but he did go down. B2 is gone, so this is definitely a keeper attack. Like, I can whittle this down eventually with enough squads. But I wanted to see how much damage I truly could end up doing. And the hope is maybe they'll just keep hitting Stormtrooper Han. That would be great, because he can survive for a long time. But as it stands, it's just, I thought I'd take a shot here. Maybe I'd get enough damage and just be able to one-shot Grievous, and that clearly didn't happen. But Magna Guard is close to down, so we can take him out. He's gone, and I actually have a shot here. Maybe I can do enough damage, maybe I can stun him, but he was out of protection, and really, I mean, there's just not much. So I was like, what do I do? Should I taunt? That seemed kind of funny. So I attacked, and Stormtrooper Han clearly failed me there. But I did manage to get it down to just Grievous, and once you get it down to just Grievous, he's very manageable. You can kill him with a ton of different squads, and this gave me a good opportunity to break out the little furballs, the murder bears, the Ewoks, I don't know what you want to call them, but they are decent at finishing off Grievous, even Relic 7 Grievous. So, just watch. The Ewoks did manage to get first turn here. Paploo is actually very fast. I have him modded that way. He gets a speed bonus to his kit and everything, so he's pretty quick. And, Ewoks just get so much turn meter. They are a very strong squad in that regard. They get a ton of turns. They don't hit very hard, at least not at Gear 12. I want to see what they do at Gear 11 or 13. I've already seen what they do at Gear 11, and it's not awesome. But eventually, what you want is Logray gets a turn. He gets days, and more importantly for this match, he reduces the turn meter of whoever he's targeting, and that just combined with the natural Ewok ability to go first, or rather go often, is probably just too much for Grievous. Grievous is not a fast character on his own. He relies on turn meter shenanigans, and then he does get a lot of turns if you can get target lock off, but he needs his support crew, and he's clearly not getting it here. So you can see Grievous didn't even take a turn. I got 30 banners, and now we have to take on this Jedi, or rather this Darth Revan team here. This is really a skeleton crew, really an awful squad, but I'm strapped for meta teams right now. I've been going really hard on defense lately, so we have Padme on defense, Jedi Revan on defense, Darth Revan on defense, and we just don't have any options here. I do have another counter in mind that I want to try sometime soon, but I'm not ready for that quite yet. So now we're just trying to take this out. I truly hated taking Skywalker here, though. This is overkill to the extreme, and whatever's going to be in that back zone is I just hoped there wasn't anything nasty. After scouting my opponent's Grand Arena history, I knew I knew to expect that they wouldn't do that, but you just never know. It's just hard to say. Hopefully I won't run into anything bad. I didn't expect anything bad, but as it stood, I needed to use my one really strong team on this pretty weak shell of a team. And in the back, of course, we have Padme and then just a timeout team. Timeout teams. But a Relic Padme team in the back is going to mess things up. So I wanted to go up top here. There's a Bounty Hunter team that is slower than my troopers, and someone had just recently said that the trooper mechanics got messed up with the new update, and even though I didn't actually think that was the case, I thought about it for just a minute here going into it, just contemplating my death, of course. So if Stark is faster than than all of the bounty hunters here, and you do need to remember all of the different leadership modifiers here, then you can beat this team really easily as long as you have their turn meters linked, which, come visit my Discord server. We'll explain it to you if you want to know. But this isn't a hard fight for bounty hunters. They get so much turn meter that the bounty hunters almost never go. The troopers just annihilate them, and you get a quick 60, which was a much needed respite after getting 55 against a really weak Darth Revan team, and only 30 against that General Grievous squad. So we did beat that squad, and now we've got a couple tricky teams here. There's one with Nute and Malak that I needed to take out, and this is a really tough squad to beat, and there's a lot of different annoying, frustrating mechanics here. There's stuns everywhere, there's shock everywhere, there's daze, and Droideka is doing a ton of damage. There's going to be stealth, so I decided to bring Nightsisters. I've never done this match before, but I have seen how Nightsisters can just slowly over time overpower a lot of these squads, and decided to just take it for a spin. Now I was contemplating here what I should do with Talzin. Should I do the AoE and get Plague off, or should I just do a mass assist and try to kill Wampa? Decided that trying to get Plague out there was probably a good idea. It's a good ideal, at least. So we're going that direction, and Daka has a ton of potency, and she doesn't really stun very much in this match. I'm just a small spoiler. It's kind of a frustrating state of affairs, but there it is. So really, I don't have a specific plan going into this. I knew everyone was going to be stealthed a lot. I didn't want to hit Malak until he was alone. And really what we want to do, we want to contain Droideka, because Droideka is going to be one of the biggest threats to me. After they've killed a couple of my Nightsisters, Droideka could focus down Daka. As you see, he did target Daka. If he focused down Daka, though, and kills her, it might be impossible to come back, because she's going to be the one who revives everyone, and it's always possible that she's going to be able to come back because of Talzin's lead Zeta, but you don't want to rely on that. Eventually, I'm happy to say that I did take out Wampa. That was pretty cool of me, and now we're just kind of in holding pattern. Like, we don't want to really focus on Malak because he's just going to fear us all the time. I'd rather just contain him, but he's taunting and doing annoying things, so eventually everyone came out of stealth, and I was able to kill Dooku, and then Asajj dispelled Droideka from being annoying. And now if we can just hit Droideka, which I could, then he's gone, obviously, because he's dead. And now Nute had already died one time to Plague, and now it's just Nightsisters versus Malak, which takes a little bit, so let's speed it up a little bit. And really, there's not much of a trick here. What we're trying to do is stun lock Malak and eventually just tear him down. I've tried to use Malak before. Even in 3v3, I tried once to use my Malak to solo 3 Nightsisters, including Talzin. I think it was Talzin, Daka, and Spirit. And I didn't even come close to beating them. They just stun locked me and destroyed me. And so that's what we're trying to do here. Now, he did end up dying. I apparently didn't heal someone fully, so we're at 54, back to our inefficient ways, but we did get the win there, and now we can move on to this Karth team with a Relic Nest. And Karth is just, it's not a great squad anymore, unfortunately. So one thing I do want to point out, I'm taking First Order here. Normally I want to take Wat. I need Wat to be able to counter Padme later, so this is just going to be a straight First Order squad. They are all relicked because I'm working on trying to get the Galactic Legend of Kylo. I gotta catch them all. Obviously I have the other 2. So now what we're trying to do here, there's only one tank here, and a lot of the mechanics that they have in Force here are damage over time, and that doesn't hurt either of my Kylos. So what we're just trying to do here is essentially just pick off members until the entire First Order, or rather Old Republic team, is dead. And once they are dead, then we can focus on Nest. So I put the stun on Nest. There's no way for her to cleanse it, and it's a 2-turn stun. So even when she gets a turn, she just stays stunned, and we can actually do some damage to her. Now, Zalbar is obviously a huge, frustrating dude because he keeps taunting, and you can see all those stacks of damage over time on my First Order Stormtrooper. That's not going to be great once he actually takes a turn, but there's not much we can do. Kylo Ren is not taunting anymore right now, and so the hope is that we can eventually... And wow, I just realized or discovered that I don't actually have footage of the rest of this match or of the next one, which is really frustrating because the next one is the most interesting one, in my opinion. So the way this ended up was I did kill off Canderous and Mission. I healed up First Order Stormtrooper before all of those dots hit him, and I finished with a perfect 60 against this. And the back zone had an Akbar fleet, which I was expecting, and then I needed to jump into this bottom zone here, and it had Padme in it, and that had been surprising to me. So I decided to take Nest to try to, quote-unquote solo this team. Now this match is quite a bit different because C-3PO's on it. The reason being that he has a high enough potency, and he has potency up, so that he can always get his debuffs out, and that means that he can get Confusion onto Nest. Once he puts Confusion on Nest 2 times, then she can't counter anymore. So if he uses his special, then she will immediately not be able to counter, and that throws things off and would eventually just spell the end of Nest. I would just time out. So what I needed to do here was put Watt's tech for taunting onto Nest, because every time she took a turn, she would then cleanse it automatically and be able to counter for a little bit until 3PO managed to put another double stack of Confusion on her. So that happened all the time, consistently throughout the match, And one other really awful wrinkle that happened was immediately before Hermit Yoda could even take a turn, he died there was an AoE from Anakin, and then there was some kind of an assist, and he just died before he could give Master's Training to Nest. So wasted banners. Of course, Kira didn't do anything. She died first before she could do anything. Watt, of course, was able to get the tank tech up onto Nest, and then it took me about 3 minutes to finally kill Jedi Knight Anakin to ramp up my strength, and then it took me another minute to kill Padme, so I was running at about 1 minute left to kill Kenobi and Ahsoka, and that was fine because they only needed about 1 or 2 hits after Padme went, and the entire time Nest is just ramping up her damage. She's getting plus 2% to critical damage every single time a debuff goes away, or rather a buff goes away, and there are a lot of buffs on that team. So I did manage to get 52 banners here and a win. I really wish that I actually had some footage of it, but I didn't, so hope you enjoyed the recap, I guess. And now all that's left is to beat this timeout team and fleet, and we'll have at least gotten a full clear, albeit another inefficient one.
Death is too good for them. They must suffer as I suffered. They must see their world, all they hold dear, ripped from them as it was ripped from me.
This whole vengeance theme with the video clips is actually cracking me up right now, because I went through most of this match not even realizing that it was the person who I was facing who I'd completely melted down against. So I wasn't motivated by trying to get revenge here for the most part, but I was trying to win, obviously. So I'm taking my resistance team here, and they're not super high relics like all of the other people who have gone for resistance. I've been going for first order. So I have relic 1 on most of these guys, gear 12 on one of the fins, 4 stars on the other fin with gear 11. So they're not poorly geared, but they're not as overpowered as the squads you guys are probably used to seeing at this point if you watch a lot of these Grand Arena streams. And so the goal here is there's 3 different ways for them to revive on this team, and there are 2 really great taunters, and it's really tough to honestly to get through all those layers of taunt alongside those 3 revives, because you can see Vander Chewbacca already has prepared. So the second I kill one of these scoundrels, then immediately after Vander will revive them, and then he'll get prepared again unless I do something weird and fancy that I don't know if I'm capable of. So at the same time, we're forced to hit L3 here, and there's no way to get through it unless we have a Dispel. So we're just waiting. We're just doing damage. Eventually, I did kill her, and as you see, Vander revived her, and then Vander got his prepared one more time. And so now what we need to do, we need to either kill Vander. Well, we do need to kill Vander because we killed Visas. She wasn't a scoundrel, so that was good. But we got ability block on Captain Han, which is great. Now we need to kill Vander, because if we killed Captain Han, then Vander would just once again revive him automatically, and then we'd be back in the same place. So we need to take out Vander, and then we can take out Stormtrooper Han, or rather Captain Han. And now Stormtrooper Han is just kind of sitting there listless and alone. And that's the great place for him to be. So you can see my banners, they barely did any damage to me. This team is completely a timeout team. Kind of tricky to solve. My 6-year-old was watching. He was wondering why it took me so long to beat the squad, and I didn't really have a good answer for him. So other than, oh, well, son, it's a timeout team. And of course that led to more questions, and that was a great discussion that I will leave out of this video. So one thing that I did this time that I have not done in the past was I put my Negotiator on defense, because I knew my opponent liked to take Negotiator for offense, And the other factor, though, is I needed to have a faster Biston and a faster home 1 than my opponent had in order to make this a pretty easy counter. So I do have 1 speed faster on each, which is great, and we do need to go for bigs here. I know that in my last video with the Negotiator, I said I always go for Biston. In this case, you got to take bigs out because you're killing things just a little bit differently here. Once you can take bigs out, because he can call assists and do target lock and do all this stuff that is frustrating. Once you do that, though, then you can do your mass assist with home 1, which is one of the reasons why it's important to go first with this team. And once you can get that done, then hopefully you can just take this team out. Of course, I failed here. I barely failed to kill Millennium Falcon, and that's unfortunate. But now hopefully we can still finish it off. Of course, there's the added wrinkle of the Phantom coming in. Decided to kill that probably just out of habit, honestly, because the Falcon was actually targetable at that point. But in the end, I got 64. I got an undersized win, which is great. And that was that. I got a full clear, albeit, as I said before, an inefficient one. So I got a full clear. That's great. Wonderful. I'm happy about that. I need my opponent to fail somewhere. I do have a lot on defense, though, so I felt okay about my score. Not perfect. And my opponent didn't attack for a while. We can see my feats. A lot of them that are loaded up that I haven't actually turned in yet, that I can't turn in yet. But just wanted to add a little suspense here. So looking at my original full clear map, I went to bed. I didn't expect my opponent to attack until way later in the day. But when I woke up, they had indeed attacked and had cleared my entire board except for the back zone here. Jedi Revan and the Geonosians had both surprisingly made it through unscathed, and I had actually had a couple other good surprises here. So my Padme team was apparently able to ward off an attack by Traya, which is fantastic. Darth Revan obviously just got destroyed. He actually got beat by Jedi Revan. And then there was the top zone, there was just a general slaughter. My opponent did pretty well up top there, unfortunately. However, in the bottom zone, my Jedi Revan defended once, Geonosians defended once, and that was all she wrote. So I got 4 extra defenses this time. My ships did not acquit themselves well, despite having Negotiator on defense for the first time. And in general, though, I was really happy. I'd won, and I had beaten a guy that I had just completely embarrassed myself against a few months previously.
Why are you doing this?
It's complicated. Let's just say it's vengeance.
Alright, one last look at the board here, and that's a pretty cool score. Glad that I was able to full clear. I've been able to, knock on wood, clear my opponents so far using this defense. I don't know how long that's going to last, but eventually, once I finally got my points for winning, before everyone started deploying and everything, I was at number 40, which is great. I don't think that's really within striking range at this point of trying to get that top 10, but I do have a bunch of feats to turn in, so who knows. And otherwise, pretty cool. I was able to win again, 10-0. That means I've made legit Kyber. I'm in Kyber. In case I didn't mention that, I made it at some point in the middle of this episode, and that was great. I was really very focused, so I didn't really pay it much mind at the time, but I made Kyber again, so that means 7 times in a row, 7 out of 7. Pretty cool stuff, excited, and now I still have 2 matches to go, so who knows how far we can get. Hopefully we can get the extremely difficult to find 12-0, and we'll just see. This adventure with full defense has been a lot of fun. Who knows when my run's going to end, but until then, we'll just keep working, and I'll let you guys go with that. So thank you all so much for watching, and if you want to leave a like, this is about your last opportunity because I am about to hang up. So thank you all one more time so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails.